my beautiful people, this is Atiq from Unspoken. Today is an honor, and honestly it is a massive honor to be sitting next to this amazing legend of a man, Mr. Nath. He will talk about, today is a very important podcast because Peterborough is a place where we are trying to unite people from all different faiths, religions, colours, creeds, and we are both in the same kind of line of work, but with different methods and different set of skills, which we're going to talk about today. So Nathan, thank you so much, number one, for accepting to have a podcast with us, with the Mr. Fraser Show. Thank you very much for being a part of Unspoken. It's very important that we talk about things which are real. We're not here to tell stories. We tell stories to our children to put them to sleep. The podcast today and everything that we do at Unspoken is to wake people up. We're not here to tell you bedtime stories. We're here to tell you why Nathan does what he does, a little bit about his backstory of what he's been through, and why art is so important to him, just like speaking is important to me, right? It's two different set of skills. So Nathan, thank you very much for coming. Big up, respect. Introduce yourself to the masses and talk to us about a little bit about who you are as an individual.
So where am I looking? Looking at you?
You look at the camera, my brother.
So I'm Nathan Murdoch. I run a company called Street Arts Hire in Peterborough for the last seven years. I grew up in Eastfields, I don't know, grew up in a challenging area, different.
Call it challenging.
Yeah.
Let's get this right. He lived like he's living in the Bronx. Let's get it right.
I think, I had loving parents to a certain extent, particularly on my mother's side. I had loving parents. I grew up in a house that had that there, but in an area that had its challenges, and that kind of started the shape of my life to where I am now. So
fantastic. Have you got is there a loving family that you come from? Or do you think that when you were growing it was like a hardship? Was it hard for you growing up?
I mean, so growing up, I grew up with my mum. I grew up with my mum, and I never remembered living with my dad. My dad lived in Hankey Street, Russell Street, that sort of area of town. I think the first time when I was younger, one of the people who my mum was with, they were together about 10 years, and he sort of raised me from a sort of the important period of my life. So from a young age to a sort of late teenage age, I had a fatherly figure there. I still had contact with my real dad, but the relationship it wasn't till I looked back as an adult at my childhood that things maybe weren't so normal as what I see. My mum's always been there for me, and I had a grandma that was like an incredible woman, and I learned a lot about her when she passed away. So when she passed away, I found out that my grandma, she lost both of her parents at a young age. She raised her younger sister as her daughter. She adopted my mum off the neighbour who lived in like the neighbouring Masonette, and sort of that was kind of my family life. But I found out when I was about 13. Someone I was told was my cousin is like he said to me one day, he said, "Oh, I'm not your real cousin," and I was just like, "What do you mean you're not my real cousin?" And he was like, "Oh, your mum's adopted." So I was like, "Okay." So like confused about this situation, I go home, speak to my mum. I was like, "Oh yeah, you're adopted," and it's like at that point I found out that all these people I've grown up with, my grandma's neighbour, Lewis Smith. I grew up with Lewis, and it's like all these people were like, yeah, this is your cousin, this is your uncle, this is your auntie. Turned out that's the neighbour, that's your mum's mate. So that was a bit of a shock to the system. And then with my dad being the way that he is, on my dad's side, I knew he had a brother that I don't ever remember meeting, and that was it. So I found out at 13 my blood family was me, my mum, my dad, and I've got an uncle that I don't know who he is. So it's like 13, I've got 4 people that have some sort of blood connection to my life. And I don't know how much, I think that started to affect me as I got older. I started to realise, like, I don't know, it's not something I thought about a lot, but subconsciously it's like, I can count my blood family on one hand. But on the flip of that, it's the family that have been there for me my whole life, where it's my grandma's family that took us in, and then my stepdad's family. Like, still now they treat my family, myself, as if we're family, and I'd never change that or take that away. It's like I've got an adopted family, and I'd never question it. Like, I've got no interest in trying to re-find my relatives that exist, because I'll be 37 in a few weeks, and all these people, they never made a connection to me in that time in my life. So,
is it important that somebody has to be related to you to be loved and to be cared for? And I like the way you just dropped your birthday. That's in 3 weeks time. Let's not forget about that. Get back to it. But on a real one, does it matter? Like, for example, in my opinion, I've got more love for people who are not related to me.
Yeah.
And does that change your relationship with them or not?
No, I think for the earlier part of my life, it did bother me.
So when did you find out about this?
I think I was around 13.
Okay.
But then it's like, I said to a lot of people say about, blood being thicker than water and all this family thing. It's like, blood doesn't mean anything to me. Loyalty means everything to me. Because like, I've never known a blood family, but I've got loads of people that accepted me as family and treated me with loyalty that I could never repay. Like, for they've made me feel like part of a family. And I think where it got stranger for me was my dad was in jail through lockdown, and at the start of lockdown I got a phone call. So I would have been 34, so about 3 years ago I got a phone call, and he's like, "Oh, I'm your Uncle David." I was like, "Okay." I kind of knew I had an Uncle David. I found out at 34 years old that my dad's one of 4 brothers. 2 of them live in Peterborough. The guy that spoke to me doesn't live in Peterborough, and I found out more about my family at the age of 34 on my dad's side than I've ever heard in my whole life. And again, like that, I found that quite difficult. It was like, probably found that more difficult than the first time I found out my mum's adopted. I found out at 34 that I have a whole blood family that live in this city. They know who I am, and they've never reached out. And he said that, because of the way my dad's made difficult choices in life that have led to negative consequences, and I think it split him away from his family, but it's also led me to have a different life as well. But I wouldn't, now I've lived so long, I wouldn't change it. Like, the people I've got have been great, and I say still now, I don't think I'll ever tell my children. I don't know if I'd ever tell my children these sort of stories, unless it ever had to be told. They don't need to know that these people aren't your these people aren't blood relatives, because that doesn't matter. It's like, these people are our family. And
Nice.
so yeah.
With your experiences of you growing up with a bit of hardship and not knowing who your family are and stuff, has it made you into a better person for your own children?
I think
Has that affected you to be a better dad, a better husband?
I think the sort of path to lead me to where I am now is a combination of, I suppose them things, finding out about parts of my life, but graffiti culture in general. I started doing graffiti in '99. I would have been about 13. In graffiti culture, I think I'm now counting on toes the amount of people I've seen die that are connected to this culture, and that's heroin overdose, murder, multiple suicides, car crash. On the 16th of September, particularly that day, no, 14th of September. 14th of September is the day I met my wife it's also the day my friend was murdered. It's also the day another friend died of a heroin overdose. It's another day another friend of mine died of an asthma attack, and it's another day someone else I know died of alcohol, all from the same culture. So that day particularly is a hard day for me. But I think from seeing so many people die that are quite close to me at the age of, I'm now 37, I think every time I went to a funeral, I reevaluated my life, and I looked at, like, what am I doing? Like, sort of negatives and positives, and I always thought I need to change. It was hard, seeing a loss was like, what do I need to change in my life? I've got to do something better. And I think one of the hardest ones I always remember, my friend committed suicide. He left a partner, 2 children, and I watched his mum cry into a hole, and that whole scene and the sound she made was horrific, and it was a real evaluation of life for me. Like, I looked at everything I was doing and questioned myself, and like, how unpredictable everything can be. And then I think repeating that process time and time again. So now I'm counting on toes. So we're over 10. I think doing it so many times, I've changed my tuning as a person to someone that I look at life very differently. And I say I look at other people that have not experienced as much tragedy, and I think tragedy shaped me and turned me more empathetic and more in tune with feelings and emotions. But it took that tragedy, like say when I was younger and I hadn't seen no loss. Wait for that to stop. So yeah, when I was younger and I hadn't seen any loss, it was I wasn't the same person I am now. I went through a stage in my teens. I was horrible to people. I bullied people. I was unkind to people, and it's, I say, the constant reevaluation of like, I need to change something has led me to where I am. But I feel like I've been full circle. I've been horrible, and to now where it's like I want to make things better. I feel like I've repaid many of my sins now, if not all, and I hope, like, I can change my kind of path.
Going back to this, because the guy that I know you.
Yes.
But I don't know that.
Yes.
Do you understand? So it's hard for me to look at you like that. It's kind of weird. But because you hit back at it, talk about it. What made you bully people? What made you be that nasty person that you was? Let's just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So when I was in primary school, particularly my 2 front teeth stuck out a lot. So I got bullied a lot for my teeth. And again, I don't realise now till I'm older how much it may have affected me when I was younger. So that was kind of primary school. And then as I went into secondary school, I don't really have that problem, but I had other problems. There was particularly 2 people. One was the year below me, but he was over 6 foot. I remember him saying to me, just looking at me, he's like, I just don't like you. And that was it. There was no explanation. It was, I just don't like you. And then I dated a girl, the first girl I ever had a serious relationship, the first girl I'd say I ever loved. She was the year above me. And then in her school year, some of the people, I got a hard time because I was with one of their girls. So I took a lot of grief in that time. And then I think I reflected that on other people. And again, as I've got older, I've messaged people from that time. I said to you recently, I met someone while I was painting from that time in school. We had a conversation. We hadn't seen each other for years, maybe 10 years. And I said to him, I find it really difficult to ask you this, but I said, was I ever unkind to you? And he stood there and he thought about it, and he said, you wasn't, but your friends were. And I was just like, if I was ever unkind to you, I was like, I'm sorry. I was like I'm not the who I was then and who I am now, so different. And I'm like, I feel really bad about things I may have done. I feel bad about things that I've said. And there's one guy particularly, we've had an ongoing difficult relationship for, I'd say, maybe the last 20 years. So this guy, he has a lot of issues. They're particularly exaggerated under alcohol. And he brings up things from 20 years ago that I did that made him feel bad. And I said to him recently, I said, what do you want me to do? I said, I cannot turn back time. I've apologised, like I'm not that person that I was. I'm not a child anymore, but I cannot change things I did, people I hung around with did. All I can change is now and tell you that I'm not that person. And we are talking at the moment and making some progress. But again, sometimes I feel a lot of guilt for things I've done. And even now, sometimes when I have difficulties, I say to people, I know sometimes I don't always deal with them the right way, whether it's my wife, whether it's my friends. Sometimes I can still make bad choices, but I'm much better at acknowledging that I've made a bad reaction and making good or have a better understanding. But say I'm still learning, but how I think now to how I think then is massively different. So.
It's big, Let's just touch on a few things that you've said about repenting and stuff. It takes a hell of a awesome human being to feel bad about the past. Every single person's got a past. The priest has got a past.
Yeah.
The imams have got a past. Every single person on this planet has a past. We can't run away from it. There's nobody on this planet that don't sin. We sin all the time. But it takes a real man to say, you know what, I messed up here. Let me apologize. But that has to close. Yes. You can't keep chasing that closure because you're never going to get it. Because if people are fighting their own demons, they're pushing the demons onto you. So you're always going to feel bad because they're bringing up the past. Your past is done. We will never, ever in our whole entire life get this moment again. No matter who's a millionaire, no matter what happens, we are not going to get this moment again. So instead of enjoying the moment, we're always looking at the past. We're wasting our own life, living in grief, living in what did I do? It's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's what we're going to do now. Forget about what happened. It's done. I'm sorry. I can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You crack on with your life and I'm here for you, whatever. But I'm going to crack on with my life. I'm going to paint the city of Peterborough. I'm going to go and do what I want to do. And round of applause for you because what you've done, hello. Because what you've done in Peterborough, you've vibed it up because your set of skills have brought Peterborough in such a beautiful kind of way where people stop and look at your work. Now let's talk about that. Why did you go into art? Why Peterborough itself? Why did you do Peterborough? Because you're gifted to do worldwide stuff.
So yeah, I started.
Talk about the retweet.
I started graffiti in '99 in Peterborough with the pure intention of it was purely about vandalism, getting in trouble, just being. I believed a lot more in against the system back then. I guess just wanted to be a kid, rebel like that was it. So yeah, in Eastfield, me and a couple of lads, we used to go around tagging the streets, tagging the school, and I only got into graffiti purely for that. And then as it escalated, I then got into graffiti for, I guess, it sort of turned into fame. This desire in the graffiti culture where you want people to know who you are. So I first got arrested for graffiti in 2001, and I got conditional discharge. So it was fairly scary for me. First time, I'd been in trouble with the police, but not. Okay, it wasn't my first time being arrested, but it was the first time I got arrested for graffiti was 2001. So that was sat down with my mum, disappointing my mum, to be honest. I wasn't too bothered about. Disappointing my grandma, that was really difficult. Wow. Like my grandma was a real special person. It was her telling me, you got to stop doing this. And then it was I said to them at the time, I was I don't think I can stop. So it got to a point where I had an agreement with my mum. It was I'm not going to stop doing graffiti, but I will tell you when we're going out. So if I don't come home, I've probably been arrested. Hopefully not hurt myself, because at the time we were doing track sides, did a few trains and various dangerous things. I tell my mum, I'm going out tonight, and you ain't going to stop me. So our agreement was she knew where I was. So that was a big part of my graffiti life, was purely doing it for that reason. I then got arrested again in 2004. This time I just turned 18. So my solicitor was like, oh, they're going to make an example of someone and it's going to be you. So she's like, you're looking at jail time. I was like, really fresh-faced, 18, thinking I can't go jail for graffiti. Like it's just like, this was so at the time, they had the police come back with loads of evidence photos. I don't know if I should say this, if they raided my house, I probably would have gone jail. Luckily, they didn't raid my house, and this is a long time ago. So yeah, luckily they didn't raid my house. I got, I think, a £700 fine, 6 months conditional discharge, and I guess that was the point where I really thought, like, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing illegal graffiti. Going jail was quite, like, the thought of going jail was something not for me. And then I guess from that point, I still carried on. I did a little bit of illegal graffiti in that time. And then it wouldn't have been till, I don't know what sort of year we must be in now. So it must have been maybe 2006, 2007. I started to pick up the odd job painting a bedroom here for like a friend of a friend. And that was sort of the start of it. But again, I always say to people, I never did graffiti to make money. I did graffiti because I loved art, I loved graffiti, I loved the culture. That was all that was ever important to me. Fast forward a few years from then, it would have been, what year are we in now? Around 2015, maybe around 2013, 2014, started to pick up quite a lot of work. I did a job at a school, and they were like, oh, we can't pay you because you're not self-employed, you're not a registered business. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I work full time, I do a bit of painting on the side, don't know nothing about business. It was at that point, so I set up as self-employed. So I was working full time and then painting as a self-employed artist. I did that for a number of years, and then still never took it seriously, never thought I could ever make it as a living. I went to Fairline Yachts in, about 2014, yeah, about this time, 2014, 2015, I think, something like that. No, 2017, but yeah, somewhere in there. I went to Fairline Yachts, and I thought, when I went to Fairline, I thought, this is the job I'm going to spend the rest of my life. They make yachts. You know, I was in an office-based role, so I was out of shift work and stuff like that. And I thought, that's it. This is where I'm going to literally spend the rest of my life. And then it was, in that period, I seemed to get loads of work, like loads of work sort of coming in. Yeah, I got a wife, 2 children, working there and working on the side. I've probably been in a combined earning of about 70 grand a year. So financially,
sick. 70K.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start drawing from tomorrow.
Like
I'm the wrong job, man.
At that time.
70K, did you say?
Yeah, from doing two jobs. So working full time and doing this. But it got to a point where, you know, I was working I'd do my normal day job, then I'd work till 2 in the morning, like every day. Then I'd work Saturday, Sunday. I was never home, but we had money. You know, my wife said to me, she's like, you've got to do one or the other. You can't, like, you know, we've got all this money, but you're never home. And that was it. So that was the sort of start, like, right, can I do this? And it was, I had a chat with my boss. He said, oh, let's talk about your future. And I was like, so I used to wear shirt, trousers to work every day, and no one knew what I did. And I was like, as I like you, I'll be honest with you. I said, I think I'm going to leave and go do graffiti. And he was just like, go do graffiti. I was like, yeah. And he's just like, you know, like, I'm working with people who own yachts here. They can't comprehend that there's money in graffiti. And yeah, later that day, they give me a pay rise that day to stay, which I took because I thought, I've never earned that kind of money before. You know, I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay here. I lasted 3 months, and my heart was telling me I would have been 32. So 5 years ago, 5 years ago. My heart was telling me I've got to go. I think I can do this. And then I lasted 3 months. I was on 3 months' notice, and then I left. So I got, you know, mortgage, 2 kids, wife. I left best paid job of my life to go paint street art on walls or whatever.
Wow.
And my main boss, he lived in Marbella, had a big yacht, and he was like, "You're leaving here to write on walls?" And I was like, well, it's not quite that, but something like that. And he was just like, couldn't get his head around it. I left, and then I left July 2017. No, July 2018. I left full-time employment to go live off street art graffiti. And then there was a time, it would have been around early March. It was my eldest's birthday. For reasons I can't explain. At the time I had money, had a house, had a wife, had a loving family, had everything that loads of people desire. For reasons I can't explain at this point, I had many thoughts about driving my car over a bridge, doing all sorts of madness. And how I dealt with this situation, I put all my mental energy into painting this wall. So I started feeling like this. It was around my son's birthday, the 17th, so it was around that time. And I just finding everything quite difficult for reasons I couldn't explain. It's like I have everything that people want, but something in my mind's telling me that I don't deserve to be here. I shouldn't be here. And that was pulling me one way. Prodigy, a band that I'd followed all my life since a young age. Keith Flint, the main frontman, he'd committed suicide around that time, and that was the first famous person that passed away where I thought I have a connection to that person. Like I felt an emotion for a famous person that passed. So I went and painted this wall for him. So because I was mentally all over the place, I spent 3 days channeling all my negative energy into this wall. And it was I got it wrong maybe 2 times before I got it right. I was there on and off 3 days. There was 2 people I spoke to on the phone, 2 people that I knew but didn't know very well. And they helped keep me grounded and taught me into reasons why I should stay here. And then, so I painted this wall. And I think, through the 3 days I was there, I channeled all my negative energy. I posted it on social media that night, and then within an hour, it had like 600 shares.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, that's a bit crazy. Phone, turned it off, went to bed. Next morning, that was in multiple thousands. By 10 a.m. that next morning, I had ITV ring me, put the phone down, BBC ring me. Everybody wants an interview. So it was like I'd literally gone from like an extreme low to some thing that I couldn't really explain what was going on. It's just like all of a sudden everybody wants to know who I am and what had happened. My painting had done 2.5 million views globally on my pages alone.
Wow.
Let alone every other page that had posted it around the world. So it's like loads of people have painted a tribute, but it just seemed like mine was very special for everybody. So I had this real strange emotional roller coaster of not knowing what to deal with as a painting of mine went all the way through the world. So that was, and then it was at that point all the people.
Who retweeted it? Somebody?
No, that's the next one. So following on from, so that was not a first big. I had loads of people knew who I was from that point, and then I painted an anti-racism painting in November 2019. So same year, say 6-7 months later. Painted this painting in an underpass in Taverners Road, and that was a strange experience altogether. So I knew the area. I knew it was a little bit sketchy. So I literally left my phone, my watch. I was painting there alone. And as I started painting it, you had a gang of people that side and a gang of people this side. I'm in this tunnel. And there was a few people talking in languages I didn't understand, so I felt a bit uncomfortable there. A couple of guys come through and they sort of like bashed into me, and I was like, I'm gonna get jacked painting this thing. As my painting started to evolve, so I was doing this anti-racism painting, which was 2 hands, a black hand and a white hand making a love heart. As it started to evolve, these people that were hostile then changed. It's like they started to show me like respect, like, oh, this is what you're doing, and like even people that couldn't speak English. We communicated through some sort of pictorial hand language. So I painted that, and it felt like a special painting. Put it on social media, did 20, 30,000 organic reach. So I was happy with that. It's good. Didn't think nothing more of it. Then when George Floyd happened, I got an email from a lady in Minnesota. So she said, "Oh, I'm a white lady, I live in America." She said, "Some of my family think what the police did was right, some of them don't." She said, "I've been scouring the internet for something which shows how I feel." And she said, like, she said, "I bring my children up, like, about equality, but she said, some people in our family don't feel the same." And she said, "I found this painting," and she said, "I think it's by you. I want to use it as a profile picture." And I was just like, this lady in Minnesota has found my picture, and I'm in Peterborough, she's in Minnesota, and it's just like that blew my mind. And so we were talking, I was like, "It is by me." And I was like, "How did?" She's like, "I was just Googling, and I found it." So she started to use this picture, and I shared this story. It started to gain a bit of traction. And then I was working in Stamford, and literally I got a screenshot, and it was Ice-T, the LA rapper, film star.
Sick.
Like, screenshot of Ice-T, picture of me painting these hands, and it said "Unity," scares the shit out of them. And I was just like Ice-T's just tweeted my picture.
Did you think it was fake at one point?
Like, I was just like, the guy, I was just like, what's going on? So first thing I did, checked it was genuine. I rang my wife, I was like, she's 5 years younger than me. I was like, "Ice-T's tweeted my picture." She's like, "Who?" I was like, put the phone down, and I rang my mate. I was like, "Ice-T's tweeted my picture." I was like literally freaking out.
It's brilliant.
And then Ice-T sent me globally viral multi-million times again, because then Chuck D from Public Enemy tweeted it. Then an NBA player tweeted it. And then BBC, ITV, they all phoned me again and said, "Oh, you're the guy who went viral with the keeping." And it's like, this time it was like more intense than the first time, because I had media presence. But from that painting, this is where I started to change the way I did artwork, I guess. It's like, I had people, strangers I never spoke to, all over the world message me, and they'd made, on both of these occasions, they'd made an emotional connection to something I've painted. People like my Keith wall, people travelled from all over England, Scotland, Wales, to come see this wall in Peterborough. But people like messaging me like they cried at the wall. And then the same with the hand things, like what you did is like, I remember going to a job, and the receptionist, she's like, "Oh, could you paint this painting?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "My husband's black." And she was white, and she's like, "I cried when I see it." And it's just like, so I mean, all of a sudden, paintings I'm doing are making strangers like make us have a conversation. And that was where I started to like, I found it really enjoyable, that it's like something that to me, it might only take a day, might only take a couple of days. But so my time there has made like an impact on so many different lives. I was like, and when it made a positive impact, I was like, I want to do more to help people. Like I've just made all them people feel good. I've made them people, like them with two strangers have come together from something I've done. And that was where I started to change, like my sort of path in art. And like, I now want to paint art that can help people, that can make people feel good, that can provoke a reaction, that can, start a movement, that can create change. And that was, when graffiti sort of turned into a business, turned into, now I run a graffiti company, but I paint art as a passion to help people. So
amazing. Amazing what? Amazing how a picture on a wall can change so many people's lives, and how it can have so many positives from a wall and a painting. If we spoke about this years ago, we would think, what are you talking about? But when you visually see it and you're in this world, and we drive past, it's always that wall of the Palestine wall.
Yes.
The Palestine wall and the Ukraine thing. The wall. And I always see people just standing there looking at it, taking selfies, taking pictures. It just shows that people are kind, people are nice. And through the work that he does, it is uniting people. Don't forget, this is just art. For people, it's just a drawing. But for Nate, it's a world where he was to change people's lives and stuff. That's why we try to work together, try to do positive things, try to save as many lives as we can. the point of it is never say no. If somebody was to talk to you, take 5 minutes out. Take a couple of minutes out, talk to somebody, smile, little things. Doesn't look at big things and wait for an earthquake or something's happening in Peterborough for people to have a war to help people. You don't have to do that. In our local shop, we live in a village. We got a local shop there. And not so long ago, there was an old woman in there, so I just quickly rushed in, do my thing, and I was going to kind of rushed out, and she was there on the till, counting the pennies. I was thinking, I'll just pay for it. Whatever it is, yeah? Not thinking about what's going on here. So I went to pay for it, and she goes, oh, I'm not sure yet, because I'm not sure if I want to have bread, but I feel like a bit of pineapple in that tin. I'm going, Mama, I said, Mama, are you feeling all right or what? Take both. She goes, no, I haven't got enough money. I said, well, you from the village? I said, so I introduced myself. And honestly, the most beautiful old woman, my fresh, clean. I said, Mama, what's going on? She goes, son, do you know what it is? And she just started talking to me. Her husband passes away a few years ago. Her husband passes away. Her children took the will money and robbed her. They live literally 2 hours away from her. She's not seen them for 5 years. She's not seen them for 5 years. They took the money. She was, as a mother, I can forgive them, but as a wife, I won't. I can't. My husband worked so hard, gave them education, gave them everything, and they did that to me. What have I done? And I'm thinking, my goodness, what's going on here? I said, Mama, you call me son, right? She said, yes. So what I'm gonna say, you cannot say no. She said, okay. I said, as from today onwards, you're never paying for anything in this shop again. She said, what do you mean? I said, you're never paying from this shop again. I told the guy, I said, from now onwards, I'm gonna give you some money. It's her tick. As soon as it goes less, I'll pay again. I was crying, I was emotionally wrecked. I was thinking, the biggest argument in my house is what do you want to eat? We argue about what do you want to eat. We got a menu. And this lady had making a decision if she's gonna have a loaf of bread with what? Or a pineapple from a tin. It blew my mind. So, and I was crying, the shopkeeper's crying. I said, you know what, let's go 50-50. Let's go 50-50, man. He goes, Atiq, you know, all my life, man, you know what, this is the first time it's happened in my shop. Let's go, okay, done, let's do it. She'll never, ever pay for any food in that shop again. She goes there 10 times a day, 20 times, I don't give a shit. She can go. That's the limit. You go and you spend your money. You do what you gotta do. So in talking, I find out where she lives. So I've got a couple of people in my area that are single and they're just sitting there. So I've introduced, so I've got this like little network going, this little network thing going on now. So now they've got like a walking club.
Yeah.
So every 2 things, you might see them in there, walking around. I organised it. So as I started walking, man, yo, Billy, you lazy git, get out, to go, man. And honestly, it's just from that little thing, you've just saved someone's life. It literally saved someone's life with somebody looking for pennies. Come on, man. And for us, it's like we've just had pizzas. One of my friends had 3 pizzas. Yeah, let's not mention no names, yeah. But I'm just saying, we've got a menu. We're blessed. If somebody wants to talk to you for 5 minutes, give them that 5 minutes. If somebody wants to talk to you for 2 minutes, just talk to them, drop your stuff, man. The world ain't going nowhere. We're rushing after this world over nonsense. Just chill, man. Talk to people. This is where you're so important. I want to go back into another question. Like, what's the saddest piece you've ever done in your life? I mean, like in the local area. What's really touched your heart?
I think there was. So recently, I did a project with Mind, the mental health charity, and a follower from my page said, they messaged me and said, I want to fund a project. I'll cover all your material and your material costs to do a project for a charity of your choice that has to benefit people in the charity, and it has to be public so it can be accessible. So I had permission to do these garages on St. Mark Street. So I went and approached the owner, approached mine, said, I've got some money that will pay for the materials and that. I said, I'll give you my time for free. And so I had various meetings with them, and then we painted 12 portraits altogether, 6 alive, 6 past, but all have a connection to mental health. There was Stephen Fry, Robin Williams, Nina Simone, Chester Bennington, Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, Dave, XXX Tentacion, Caroline Flack. But yeah, there's 12 on there. And that project, I did it over 10 days. I did little videos for social media, telling it each day about what I'm doing and what the project's about. Some I'm not really used to, some I'm not totally comfortable with. Started off really bad. I think I got a little bit better as they went on. But through that project, I met people. I met normal residents. I met addicts. There's a hostel around the corner, so I spoke to a lot of addicts. I spoke to a lot of people that have come from jail system. The most interesting one was I had a conversation with a prostitute, and it was like,
we're gonna cut that bit.
Yeah. No, but shit. No, the thing is, we had a really this is the thing. We had a really normal conversation.
Well, she just walked up to you?
Yeah, just walked up to me. Like, she was a pretty lady, but clearly in not the greatest state of health, shall we say. But we had a normal conversation over a painting on a wall. So it's just like two people that would never normally speak. Different situations in life, completely opposite. We shared a conversation over this painting stood on the left of me. She said to me, she's like, I can't believe it's painted. You didn't paint it. I said, I'm painting it right now. No, you couldn't paint. The paint's right here. And like we had a normal, civilized conversation. And I said to someone, like, maybe that changed what she did next. Maybe that changed what she thought, what she did, how she acted. And everyone I spoke to through that period, like, I enjoyed, speak. I sort of covered such a broad spectrum. A couple of guys come from Bedford. They'd seen my video and they rode down from Bedford to come and speak to me. And one of them, he was an ex-alcoholic, been sober 10 years, and on a path to help other people. The other guy was an ex-offender with bipolar. And again, we had a really interesting conversation. But from all that, I got a message from a female account, but it was from a child, and she said, and it said, it was something like, I really like this painting that you did. It's like that was my favourite, and I didn't think nothing of it. But then the mother of the child, she messaged me and said, that was my son who wrote that, and she said he's 9-10 years old. She said his father killed himself in the front living room only earlier. And she said that just so we talk about mental health openly, but she's like that painting just like it made us feel so positive and like stuff like that. It's just like I said to people, I've earned some crazy amounts of money painting pictures on walls. No money can buy like them conversations, them emotions, and them. They're the things that I'll never forget, and it's better than any amount of money I've earned. And like I always said to people, like if you haven't experienced like what that is, it's something beyond wealth. And I say like connecting them and people, especially that being a child so young, it made me think of my own children and how close I've been to that, and then what I would have left behind. And I spend a lot of time painting with headphones in, and I listen to music and listen to lyrics in a whole new sort of deep way. And one of the artists I painted on that wall, Dave, he has a lyric that says, "If you're thinking about doing it, it doesn't stop the pain; it only moves it." Wow. And that was that lyric, and say like meeting that child, speaking to that child online, and his story. That was like a real powerful another powerful moment for me. So I guess, was that the saddest? It wasn't the saddest. That was probably one of the most emotional, because I was there 10 days.
That's deep though, isn't it? That's proper deep.
I engaged with so many different people, and I say that message, like that was like I thought even if it made a difference to that one, that son and that mum, I thought even if it just made them feel better, it was worth, them paydays were worth it just for them alone. Although I know it reached much more. But you know, outside of that, I did a number of paintings for a lady who was terminally ill with cancer, and I think I painted some Banksy replicas because she was a massive Banksy fan, never going to meet Banksy, and I painted one for her and she was quite hostile, and this is where I've never met her before, and then I learned like she's terminally ill with cancer. I did a second for her, and I painted 3 birds, and we did the quote. Every little thing is going to be all right. And when I did that painting, she squeezed me in her kitchen like so tight, like wouldn't let me go. And again, in that moment, it was like that painting, like, you know, she didn't live much longer after that. But that painting, like that bit of time I give her made such a difference in her short part of her life that, like, again, like money can't buy them experiences in it. And it's like, the more I've had of those, the more I want to give back, the more I want to help people, because say, as my life's gone on, I'm much more fortunate now. My life is much more fortunate. I live a very different life to a lot of people I meet now, and it's like, you know, I've got enough that I can share and give people time, and that's sort of, yeah, that's where I am now.
That's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Giving is good. Do you get recognised? Like around Peterborough, do people come out like, yeah, I know you and stuff? Yeah,
that's been a weird thing and a thing to get used to.
How does that make you feel? I remember the first time I met you.
Yeah,
I went nuts. Did you tell me that? What happened when I met him? I went nuts, man.
The first time I met him, yeah.
My battery was dead on my phone.
I was in the petrol station. I see him. He's like, you're that guy, that paying guy. Like, everyone's looking at me like, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, yeah, you're it, that's the paying guy. And I'm just like in my van, like, shit, do I stop, do I talk to him, or do I carry on driving? I was like, I don't really know what to do. But, you know, like, yeah, I've had some mad ones. It's literally, I parked up, got out my van, this lady spun her car back, rolled her window down. She's like, I see your van, and she's like, I just want to tell you I love what you do. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, let's go. She's like, I see your van. I'm like, it's you. And just like she was just like, oh yeah. And I met a family recently, like met the whole family, mum, dad. The wife knew like every one of my paintings, and her husband's sort of standing there, and she's like, listen, Novi, I know this painting. Like, to have people so enthusiastic about things I've done, it's a real surreal experience. But I say, well, what I in that kind of perspective, I've done. I did a talk at the regional college earlier this year. I just done one at Ken Simpson. I painted my secondary school, which it's now City of Peterborough Academy, and it's like I meet a lot of young people who are inspired by my story, I guess. So, you know, I grew up in a council estate, did loads of things wrong. Now I run a graffiti company that, you know, I never knew was going to happen, but I got there, and I meet a lot of young people that are inspired by such a story, and. So that's, thank you.
It's big. Yeah, honestly, you've got to understand that you've got to remember from coming from where you've come from and do what you do, it's a gift from Allah, God. God always gives every one of us, it's a unique gift. Allah, God always gives us a unique gift, every single one of us. And yours were in your hands, in drawing, in visualizing something where you imagine, you're only drawing, bro, but for you it's a different world.
Yeah.
And for people to come over to you and go nuts, I was nuts about you because I love what you did. It's the honest truth. You're like, wow. And he's a likable kind of guy. And when we talked about the wall and everything, this is recorded, isn't it?
I know where this is going.
When we spoke about this wall many years ago. We're not going to talk about it. We're messing about. But I'm just saying that it's a gift. And well done, because you've not only have you changed your life around, I see you, obviously, we see each other all the time in the mornings and stuff, have a little nice little chat. But it's moments that make history. It's moments that God gives you, and honestly, they're only tested for you. You might help someone, but really it isn't for them, it's for you. It's that fact that I've done something good today, and God will reward you for it. It's a fact. You will always get good back from it. So the work that you do is an amazing that you're doing. What you do for Peterborough is amazing. We've got a project coming up which you're going to be involved in, the Good Deeds 24, which we'll be together. We'll do a lot of work together. And as a unity, as a colourful family, no matter what you look like, what your race and religion is, it's for yourself. Let's unite. Let's make this colourful. Let's prove to the world that you're saying that we can't get on, but we can. You're saying that we can't get on with people who got drones on their faces, tattooed up kind of guys. Of course we can. Who says that we can't get on? Who knew that I only live a stone away from the brother himself? We live around the corner from each other. Allah's the best of planners because we, honest to God, it's a couple of minutes and I'm at his yard. And I've been there for 15 years. It's mad, but we join, and what we're joining for, we're not joining to get other piss up, we're joining to save lives. But we're going to enjoy it because we want to do it. Not for clout, not for fame, not for money. It's because we want to do it because we care. It's because we care. What's your next project? What's the new and up and coming things for you?
Something you just said, it made me think of something else to say. I think one of the other things that I've sort of gained from doing graffiti and artwork was it opened me to a broader range of people. So I feel, and I said this in the school the other day, I said the way social media society makes you feel like subconsciously that you should be scared of certain people. So whether it's, travellers, Muslims, any sort of religion, whatever, like things in the world that you might subconsciously see, read, or give you this perception, and you don't even know. Like, and the first time I noticed it, I painted a garage for an Asian guy, and there was at one point there was a large group of lads come in, and they weren't speaking English, and I felt really uncomfortable. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, "Is this society made me feel like that right now I should feel uncomfortable, or should I actually feel uncomfortable?" And what it was the way the world that I lived in had made me subconsciously programmed me to feel like this. That the people I work for then, we become good friends. Every time I go in there, he gives me a hug. They treat me like family. And it was just like, it's the first time I thought, well, like everything that, sometimes that I'm picking up, it wasn't true. And then from that, I got a phone call one day from, I could tell he was a traveller gypsy guy. And he phoned me, he said, "Oh, I want a cross painting in my church." And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And he's like, "It's a gypsy church." I was like, "I don't mind." He's like, "You're going to come do it?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "It's a gypsy church." I was like, "I don't care." And I went and painted this. I painted a big cross in the church. And again, I was just treated with love, respect. And again, he said, "Oh, I tried loads of people, no one would come." I was just like, "Well, like, yeah, we're the same people, like, I'm just here to do a job." And again, them experiences through painting, and I paint in rough areas, speak to addicts, as I said earlier, prostitutes, people like all religions, but this art form has exposed me to a much wider group of people than I would ever experience in any other walk of life. And again, on from that, when I was would have been 16, 17, early days of graffiti, I watched my friend having a seizure on the floor as he was weaning himself off heroin. I wasn't ready to be exposed to that kind of thing, but graffiti exposed me to so many different types of people. This art form, that I'd never meet in a normal walk of life, but it's gained me a much better and a much nicer, much better understanding of being welcoming, understanding to people, problems, and I gained all that from this art form. So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely fantastic, lovely. It's been nice, man. Just looking at where you're from, what you've done, what you've achieved, what you're gonna achieve, and the moments that you have in your life. Well done, congratulations. Everybody has an ace card. Every human being needs somebody. We can't battle life alone. I'm glad that you're in my life. You're my brother, Fraser. Everybody that's been here today, Mina, my brother, Alex. Everybody has an ace card. I've never really had an opportunity to thank my ace card. My bank balance. Every time you're stuck, I make a phone call to him, help me out, and I just want to say, Suli, thank you for being who you are. And I'm being honest, he's a good man. I'm a bit short of money, that's why I'm just doing it. Nah, he's a good guy. Now, Allah bless you with all the goodness in the world. Thank you. I'm quite surprised he's rocked up actually. He never comes to me either. And you're quite blessed to have him here.
Okay.
He don't come to nothing. Thank you to the brother over here. You know, you're an awesome guy. Thank you so much. I know you've trained, you've done your thing. But I just grabbed him on the thing and said, look, my Nathan's going to be here. So I know who it is.
Yeah.
I'll sit down. Thank you for your time. And thank you for being a part of it. Just to finish off with your question, a question for Nathan only, because I'm going to be going off for weeks. Don't ask me nothing. The platform's for Nathan. Just before we do go to the questions, Good Deeds 24. Good Deeds 24 is going to be launched tomorrow by myself, Fraser, and Liam. And Nathan's going to be involved in it. It's 24 hours. Everything will be on social media. I'll speak to you about it myself. We'll recruit as many people as we can. Do as many good deeds as possible in 24 hours. As a Muslim, for my hero, the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has taught us to be kind. So what are we going to do is going to choose 5 or 6 kind acts and we're going to run with it. You're going to think about something else. I'm doing it as a religious thing. You think of something else. You think of something else. You're bringing the coffee. Brown Bear Coffee, yeah? That's his company.
Right.
Brown Bear Coffee, yeah? So we're going to be doing all of that. We're going to unite, and for 24 hours, we're going to change so many minds. We've got the BBC, ITV, we've got so many people that are going to make this come alive for us. Use your contacts, please, yeah? Use your contacts. Use every power that you can. At least recruit 4 or 5 people. Bring people with you to London. If they can't do London, they can do Peterborough. Let's get some toys, brand new toys from shops. Let's go and let's give it to our children. They're our kids. It's our local hospital. Let's do something from them. Religion is for us. I'm a Muslim for me. But what I'm gonna gain from it and what I'm gonna spread out to the world, trust me, you're gonna benefit from it. You're gonna benefit from it. That's a promise. As my Lord says, whatever you expect from your Lord, you're gonna get. So it's love, it's kindness, it's unity. So we're gonna spread that. So if anybody's got any questions for the legend himself, please. Sorry? Oh, go on, man. Go on, Mr. Frazee.
I quite liked your profile, your life.
Yes.
It was amazing. In your industry, where does it take you? What's the next step? What's your future? You spoke about your past quite a lot. The present, you do it now.
I mean, so where I look, we're in our 2nd, 3rd year as sort of as a turning 6 figures, which again, something that like when I started, you know, a few hundred quid was a lot of money. Now I look at a few thousand and it's not a lot of money, and it's just like it keeps going like this. But then I guess as I was saying earlier, the biggest company in our industry is Global Street Art. So I want to aspire to be like them, their clientele. Where we started to experiment a bit more is, I've got a client at the moment, we are discussing painting murals with augmented reality interaction. So
What's that mean?
yes, we're gonna paint a flat picture on a wall, but when you put
Why'd you laugh like I was thick? Look at him, man.
But like,
I'm asking a question, but I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, so
He's laughing like I'm thick.
So
We'll talk about that later, mate.
I've got a company in Peterborough, multi-billion-pound company, started in Peterborough, so it's an interesting one. We had a meeting with them. We're going to paint a flat mural in their wall, but then when their clients come in, you put your phone over the wall and the artwork will come to life.
Sick.
So I do keep thinking about more. I still want to do street art. I love painting in the streets. I love talking to people. That's my passion. Where we go as a business, I want to cross that more over in technology.
Good start on a teach.
So yeah.
Say that a little bit louder.
Yeah, it could,
I'm just forgiving you.
could be. You say I've dabbled a bit in NFTs and stuff, but again, yeah, it's. I guess for where I am in Peterborough, as an artist, I've never felt supported by the city, never felt supported by the local organisations here, so I did it on my own and been successful in some ways. So now what we're trying to do here at the moment is we're trying to create more creative opportunities for young people, because when I was in school, no one told me that there was a job in art. Like, even growing up, I didn't believe there was an industry in art. Whereas now between myself, a couple of other guys, there's a few people in this city, a guy said to me a little while ago, we were talking about creating an art hub, And they're like, oh yeah, why don't we get a building? And at one point it was like, between us all, there's like, oh yeah, we've got enough money that we could literally go buy like the old new theatre. Like as I say, there's a couple of guys in us with like stupid amounts of money. It's like, yeah, we could literally just go buy a building. So as a overall collective, we are looking to, you know, change creative opportunity in this city. And I always say to young people and people here is like, there's so many success stories in this city. There's a guy I know who lived in Dogsthorpe, like, you know, got signed to Sony Records. You know, I've had my successes. There's another guy who lives in America from Eastfield. And there's so many success stories here. So again, I guess at the moment, our next sort of step as a business is, yeah, I want to create more creative opportunities for people from the city, and then beyond then, slowly take over and go global. But no, starting with Cambridgeshire, and then go, you know, yeah, going over than that. Man. So, but
you know, in my religion it says, look after your neighbour. Yeah, that's a given thing. You just said a few of you can rock up and buy a building. Yeah. I drive a car that's a 240,000 a clock. Have some shame. Yeah? No, but have some shame, bro. They're probably a car.
Yeah.
Forget my buildings for a little while. No, Jack, that's good though. Yeah. That's a good vision, and that's a good goal. Because you've achieved what you want to achieve. And do you think that you want to give back to the children here?
Yeah. I say all of us, like we're all 30s, 40s now. So it's took us, we've had a long struggle to get to a level of success. So it's like now, it's like we want to help young people, particularly because we're all from Peterborough, and Peterborough is this dead end city everybody hates. So like we want to use our successes to give the young people here a different opportunity to what we had.
Is there a lot of youngsters that want to do art? Is there?
Yeah. I went to an art exhibition at the local college. I bought a piece of art. I met a young girl there, 16, had zero confidence. But like, at 16, what she's painting now, I thought was incredible. So I commissioned her to do a piece for me. And I say it's people like that. It's like, yeah, I want to find people, and sort of, I say everybody in my team are people I know, people I've spent time with. And I take a lot of pride in that as a business, give tens of thousands out to people that have been in my life. It's like something I've done now helps them, and then we want to spread that love further and help people, like, doing things you love and making a living out of it. It's yeah.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a fascinating story. That was really interesting to actually get a bit of backstory about what.
Yeah.
Because if you look at how my generation is, I mean, I was born in the 70s and I don't like that, but you talk about hip hop and that street art. I used to do that with my guys at school in the 80s. So
yes.
It's that blocky sort of.
Yes, yeah.
It's really hot. But the question I want to interest in asking is, if you look at sports when we're outdoor, which is like one of the gold medal Olympics or winning Champions League and stuff. So if you could pick a wall anywhere in the world where people can walk by and see your art, where would I do that?
Fantastic question.
That is a good question. It's not going to be that exciting, and I'm going to say Peterborough, and there's a reason why. Like, I know a few artists, and all they do is want to get out of this city, and I choose to put more time in here. And I said to my friend said, why don't you go to these events all around? And I said, like, I've lived here my whole life. My wife's told me, like, because of her family, we'll never leave. So I've got 2 young kids growing up here. It's like, I need to make Peterborough the best it can be. That's why I do give all my time here. So I put a lot of art into this city because that's my way of making this city better. So the best wall in the city that is on our agenda is, I think it's Bright Street, where the brewery tap is. Yeah. On that roundabout, that wall there. I've been after it for about 8 months.
Bigger.
I met Atiq, and then within a matter of hours, he got that wall for me that I've been trying and failed through every avenue I could try. People I know in the community had failed, and then he managed to get it within 2 hours.
God bless him. Honestly, God bless that brother. Honestly, he told me about it. I said, look, let's do something. I wasn't after no walls.
Yeah, this is it.
Honestly, I was not after no walls. I'm not after none of that shit. But he goes, Atiq, there's a busy wall, man. And I said, give me the number, I'll get it for you. I'll get it for you. So I rang it and I knew the guy. And he goes, brother, if it's for you, I mean, it's not for me. He goes, no, the condition is this. It's for you. He goes, I've seen your work. And he goes, you know, in my head, he goes, I was getting numbers and people ringing me. I don't want to give it to them, but somebody put Free Palestine on it, he goes, without my permission. He goes, at least do it properly. So he goes, take that off. He goes, is the guy, Nathan doing it? I said, yeah. He goes, is it for you? I said, it's for me. He goes, honestly, as my parents have passed away, as a gift for you, because they loved you, you were a good man, that wall's for you. And that touched my heart. I thought, Rob, I ain't spoken to him for years. And honestly, a lovely guy. And thank you for giving me the opportunity as well. This wall is not about look at me, it's about look at us. It's all about us. It's all about looking at us. Because at the end of the day, this wall has to represent our community. Yeah, it's a wall. People are going to look and you're going to get hate, you're going to get love, whatever. But because it's so busy, even today, one of my mates, Paula, rang me. She goes, you owe me some money. So what have I done? I haven't seen you for years. What's wrong with you? She was looking at the wall. It's an unspoken Atiq, and then I hit the car in front of me. She hit the car in front of me. No damages or nothing. But I'm just thinking it's an epic wall, and hopefully we can visualize it in such a way, because we've done so much work with the Down syndrome children and the hospitals and that. If it's a community thing, it'll work out really, really well.
Yeah. So.
Suri?
Just wanted to ask, what was the picture or art that you made? Or which one was that you made you really happy when you did it? And what was the saddest one on the other side of it?
One that made me really happy.
The one that you did with so much joy and you really, really enjoyed it. And on the other side, what was the one that you made you really sad when you had to do it?
Yeah. I guess it'd have to be. God, bloody hell. I don't know. There could be a couple. Possibly my Keith Flint one. Like I say, it was a bit of an extreme of emotions. When I painted it, I was in a really low and dark place. Like probably the lowest I've ever been in my whole life.
Do you know now why you were there?
No.
You still don't know?
No. It's what I call when my mental health goes up and down. Someone said to me, I met on a project recently, they said, I think he's got bipolar, and he said, I think you've got bipolar. So I started to look into it, and it's like, I have quite emotional, drastic changes from sad to high. And that was one of them. I was really low. But I say the love that I got from it was love from strangers. Like something that I'd just spent painting, people from all over England travelled to this wall. They made an emotion to this. I'd never had that before. So that was it was a sort of start of the change of the artist I wanted to become, because it made an impact on so many other people. So I think I'd say that one. But then even again, when I did the hands, I was amazed. This lady from Minnesota had found this picture that I painted in Peterborough, and then and contacted me, and she's like, I was just like, it blew my mind. This lady from America had literally tracked me down to my email through the internet, made contact with me, and the more we spoke to her, she's like, yeah, I've got family in England. And I was like, where? And she's like, they're in Kettering. And I was just like, that's near Peterborough. I was like, when you come, I was like, I have to meet you. It's like you've changed my life again. And again, that was really emotional. So yeah, I'm fortunate now that I've done lots of paintings that have made me really happy, because they've made other people happy. And that's an experience that money can't buy. And I guess in sadness, I'm very unfortunate I get asked to paint a lot of memorials. I've painted memorials of parents, children, for all different reasons. And what I try to explain to people, when someone says to me, I'm not very good at saying no, doesn't mean that I want anyone else to ask me to paint anymore. But when someone says, can you paint me someone that's passed away from my family? I never say no, because I don't like to. But then the amount of pressure it puts on me is really, really extreme. The last one I did, one of the guys I started painting with back in the day, he's a traveller lad. But like I say, we spent some good time together back in the day, and I hadn't spoken to him for years, and he messaged me, he said, my dad's passed away. Can you paint my dad on a transit bonnet for his funeral in 2 days? And I was like, I did it through the night. and I was so scared about giving it. But when I give him it, like, you know, they were amazed with it. He said his mum, everyone was crying. They've got it mounted up in the wall, and it was worth it. But the pressure I had to go through to deliver it, so it's like, yeah. And again, it's an emotional thing. You're painting someone. Someone's trusted you to do something for their loss. So like it never gets easier. And I'm not very good at saying no, and I really want to. Like,
that's a big honour for you, though.
Yeah, it's an honour, but it's like the weight it puts on me. Like, it's, oh God, like yeah, every time, and yeah.
Question.
Right then.
What?
As an artist, you obviously have to be very, very patient with what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, obviously painting and prepping and getting ready to do what you do, doing amazing work. What would you say is your best quality as a person that you bring to you as a person to you?
Oh God,
I like that.
best quality I've been to as a job. That's a good question. Go on.
I think it's his personality.
Thank you.
Honestly, his personality, for me, I've honestly, like, I've known him 5 minutes. Literally. I've only met him a little while ago. First time I met, he got scared, jumped in the van, he chipped. He goes, yo, what the fuck? He chipped, yeah? But honestly, my mornings are with him. We chat every morning, whatever. The most humble, kindest man I've ever met in my life. And that's for my, honestly, it's not because he's here. He's so nice. So nice. I think your personality is good, man.
I say, like, to get to where I am, it's loads of hardships in life, tragedy, like that's led me to where there was a point in my life. You know, I was one of them people, like, you'd say, you know, I've got this, and I'll be one of them people like, well, I've got better. I was that person as in my late teens. I had some very loyal friends. Where when I was my worst as a person, they stuck by me through it, and they're still by me now. And I'll always, you know, have so much love for them for that, because it's only when I grew up, when I started to mature, and I look back and I was like, I was horrible to a lot of people, and I was horrible to friends, and a small group stuck by me. And then tragedy. Like there was a blog I used to read by an artist, and he wrote this blog about, he used to have this dream every day about getting arrested, and then one day it happened, and how he changed his mind process. I used to read this a lot, and that was the start of where I started to change my life, I guess. I started to change the way I think in terms of negativity and positivity. And then, you know, a lot of people ask me about how I stay positive, and it's like, because negativity doesn't work for me as such. It's like, so over years of doing it, I've learned how to manage myself better. And I always say to people, I still make mistakes. You know, I still, you know, recently, there was a time recently I had an argument with my wife, and it's like it went to quite an extreme where I wasn't a good husband, but like the remorse and guilt I felt was almost, it's like I knew I'd done wrong. And it's like, it's took me a lot of years to learn how to do that. And it takes like years of repetition and training, but it's like, I know when I've been a bad person, and I feel like I've gone full circle. But tragedy, experience made me what I am now. But I wasn't always humble. I was horrible. But I'm happy to admit that, because I'm not that person now. And I don't ever intend to be that again. The way I naturally feel about stuff is massively changed. Just in everything. I've got a great appreciation for life. I still have times where I can't control my emotions, and there's times where I feel really low, times where I feel really angry, and then I feel a massive guilt. But like overall, you know, whether it's animals or it's people, I have a much wider empathy and care for everything around me.
Oh, fantastic.
How does your emotions run when you're doing artwork?
Generally, what I've learned, it's not too bad now. So when I first started painting for a living, I'd spend a lot of time. So I went from working full time, having office colleagues and all stuff like that, to being alone with music. And I listen. What I've discovered is to a certain element, tragedy and sadness. I don't know whether I'm attracted to them or they're attracted to me. So I used to spend a lot of time listening to sad music, and I read stories of sadness. And there was one time when I was painting for a living, I listened to a song called "Sorry" by an artist called Joyner Lucas. It's the story of two people, someone who commits suicide and someone who's angry at him, talking to him. And in that time, I was like, I listened to that song not only once, listened to it about 10 times. I went from being all right to like really, really bad, to a point I rang my wife and I was ready to just give up on everything again. She told me I'm never ever allowed to do that again. So then like now as that's evolved, it's like when I paint now, I have to be careful what I listen to, because especially it's not bad when I've got people with me. I work with a bit of a team now, so I've got someone to talk to. But when I'm alone, if I can over-process thoughts, I can over-process words, particularly songs and stories. And so I go through a bit of an emotional roller coaster when I'm painting. And you have lots of time to think, particularly when you're on your own. I've been working on a wall in the night this week. So I spent a couple of evenings, 9 till 1, 2 a.m. alone in the dark, with a little bit of light, painting, just thinking about life and all sorts of, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but again, I don't know, I can't quite explain it. I go through what I'm actually doing, I don't feel it, I don't know. I've subconsciously, my hands know what they're doing, I don't have to think about it at all. It all just happens. In my mind, I'm thinking about, life, death, family, like, yes.
Wow, just to
said about the working late.
Yes.
Bumped into any trouble being late?
One of the ways I coped through lockdown, I snuck out and painted at our legal tunnel because it's LED lit at night. I painted about 4 portraits in there at about 1, 2 in the morning alone in a subway in the middle of Peterborough. There was one night I bumped into a 6-foot odd homeless guy, but he sort of come into I was in the middle of the tunnel, he sort of come in and I thought, a bit like, I don't know what's going to happen. And he sort of sat down, he kept getting closer to me. So he got really close to me. I was like, hello, and he just stared at me and didn't say a word. And I really didn't know what was going to go on, but eventually he just carried on. So it's not been too bad. There was that same time as well. There was one night I got surrounded by 12 teenagers on push bikes, and I had a GoPro filming me, and I thought I'm definitely getting robbed. So again, perception. Society had made me think 12 young lads all dressed a bit like roadmen, like something's going to happen right now. And I'm just like, you right, lads? And they just sat down and had a chat to me, and it's just like, it was all right. I don't know whether it was what I was doing, whatever, but we just sat down, had a normal conversation. They'd escaped their homes and read off, and they come from Yaxley or something. But again, it's
nice.
I don't know. I think, I don't think it's not going to work for everybody, but I think society makes you think, as I said earlier, you've got to be scared of them sort of people. Have you ever tried talking to them sort of people?
Exactly.
Because just starting a normal conversation, it doesn't necessarily, the stereotype that society makes you think and what's going to happen. Yes, yeah. I've got a friend of mine. A friend of mine from London. He's a black guy. He's quite he talks with a bit of slang. In the stereotypical world, a lot of people are going to say that he looks quite intimidating. And he works in a shop in Peterborough, and like the stories he tells me is like, once you get to know this guy, he's so soft and human, but you look at him, you think, he's a bit scared. But it's like, just try to talk to the guy. He's really normal and human. But it's just like, society, again, social media, all these things, fake news makes you feel like you've got to look at someone, I've got to be worried. Just have a normal conversation. And the sooner people start thinking like that, I say it's not going to work for everybody because there are bad people, but I think the majority are good. The world has made us feel scared when we shouldn't.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And you'll end it with the last message with the masses. What is your message to the world? Give your last message, my brother. Boom. Can I say boom?
I quote a song that I listen to a lot. Learn over years, hate kills, and love conquers all.
Wow. Boom. Nathan, my man, thank you so much. God bless you, my G. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that turned up. for the podcast. Thank you very much. Unspoken Atiq with Nathan. Thank you very much for everybody that's coming with their times. This will be going on all social media, on all platforms soon. And thank you very much once again. Watch this space for Good Deeds 2020.